Anyway, so Seisha, being the wonderful person that she was and still is, got home and was not only in pain and, you know, going through whatever personal trauma she was about having broken her wrist, but she was also thinking, oh my God, I've got to play bass on Collin's record this weekend. It's less than 2 days away. What am I going to do? So she sits down and tries to play bass. She can't because her hand, the fingers won't move, and she's in total pain when she moves any of them, like even a little bit. So it doesn't work. So she goes to bed and says, well, I'll maybe it'll just all be fine in the morning. You know, it'll just magically heal overnight, or maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. I'll try to play bass in the morning and see if that'll work. So she goes to bed. I don't know how well she slept, because if I had a broken wrist, I wouldn't, you know, sleep very well. But she wakes up the next morning, does her best, as she would, to try to play bass. And it's a no-go. This is not happening. Seisha Heinzman, let's be clear, is not playing bass for my record or in any way whatsoever on this weekend that we are now. It's Friday morning. We're less than 24 hours away from laying down tracks for my record. So, fortunately, I checked my email at 2 in the afternoon, which is unusual because I almost never check my email. No, that's not true. You know, some of you, you've gotten emails from me. You know I check my email. But you also know that there are times where, you know, you'll send me an email, it's relatively urgent, and it'll be, you know, a little bit of time, you know, just a little bit before I get back to you. You know, it might be a day. It might be a week. It might be 6 years. It's happened. Really sorry, Lauren. Still feel bad about that. Anyway, but for some bizarre reason, I decided to check my email at 2 in the afternoon on Friday, and I get this email from Seisha apologizing up and down, saying, Collin, I'm so sorry. I was caught in the rainstorm. It was crazy. I was trying to get under an awning, blah, blah, blah. Broke my wrist. Can't play bass. I'm so sorry. I hope you can find somebody. I'm so sorry. And it was one of those times where, you know, Seisha was a good friend of mine. I know she's a wonderful person. I know she would never intentionally sabotage anyone at anything, let alone a good friend recording their first solo record. But it was one of those times where I was, like, irrationally filled with rage and fury at her. You know, obviously erroneously, but I just was like, are you freaking kidding me? Do you understand that I have reserved this studio? It's costing me hundreds of dollars. I have musicians coming from Boston, from New Jersey, from all over New York City to come, and we only have the 2 days, and you're the only person who has learned the bass parts, and you're telling me you just can't? Because you slipped in the rain? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, you should be more careful. If you're a real professional musician, Seisha, you should be careful the few days before you're going to help some young, talented, up-and-coming, you know, really it guy who's going to make it big and, you know, dazzle the world with his original, exciting rock music on his record. You know, you should be more careful. And then I realized that that was insane, and really this couldn't have been any less Seisha's fault, and it actually was really nice of her to try to play bass after she broke her wrist, and then sleep all night, and then try to play bass again in the morning, and then when she absolutely realized she couldn't, she emailed me immediately. And again, it was fortunate that I actually checked my email that day. So around 2 o'clock, after I read Seisha's email, and I made it through my little rage fest, which is so much fun between the ears. Just, I don't know. So after I made it through the Rage Fest, I was experiencing what I would call panic. Total panic. Because, you know, it just sort of seemed like, what the hell am I going to do? I need a bass player, and I have less than 24 hours. We're going to record bass tomorrow. We're supposed to. That was the plan. Now, luckily I'm in New York City. There are many people who play bass. Many, many people. Many of them are talented. So I start shooting out emails, Facebook messages, text messages, phone calls to anyone I know who is a really good bass player. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, they don't know the songs. Like, here's the situation we got. Bunch of musicians coming in, limited time. Everybody knows the music except the bass player. Well, it's good that the bass isn't like an important foundation for songs or music or anything, that it's just kind of something. No, it's this whole. Okay, so I keep sending the emails, and you know, it's Friday afternoon in New York City. You know, people are not getting back to me with the speed with which I would desire them to. So around about midnight, we're gonna record at 11 in the morning on Saturday. We're 11 hours away, people. I don't have a bass player at all. So around midnight, I finally get a hold of Corinne Wilder, good friend of mine, amazing singer, was the singer of the band I was in at the time, Atomic Shotgun, and her boyfriend, Matt Cascella, is an amazing bass player. I believe one of the two best bass players in the world. Just as a side note, I believe that I know the two best bass players in the world. They are close personal friends of mine. Other people can argue that. I really don't care. So Matt is one of these people. And I had thought of asking him to play originally, but he had a lot on his plate. He was in at least 2 bands and doing other side projects in addition to, you know, trying to live his life and all that good stuff that we all try to do as artists in New York City. Oh yeah, and he lives in New York City, which is like really easy place to live and doesn't give you any extra things to do that you didn't plan on. Anyway, so I finally get a hold of, I think Corinne calls me back around midnight, and I said, look, I'm in a bind here. My bass player, you know, that I had signed up to play on my record, who knows all the songs, you know, she slipped in the rain, and I need a replacement, like, immediately. Is there any way Matt, amazing bass player that he is, could come in tomorrow and... You know, it shouldn't be that much. All he would have to do is find out what songs that I have written that he's probably not even heard we're going to record, and then he would have to learn the music, and then he would have to write bass parts for all 3 songs, and then he would have to learn those bass parts that he wrote for himself, and then he would have to have them relatively perfect so that he could lay them down while we record with not too much trouble at all. Yeah, so I'm at 13 minutes. It's ridiculous. I'm going to split this up. This isn't part 2 anymore. This is now the end of part... I was on part 3 anyway. I'm terrible with numbers sometimes. Sometimes I'm really good with numbers. Sometimes I suck. I don't know. It's just weird. Anyway, so this is now the end of part 4 because I got to split this up. I didn't say that I was going to split it up earlier because I didn't know I was going to go on this long, which is funny because I always go on for like a really long time. If you know me at all, that's like... I didn't even need to say that. So anyway... So the end of part 4. I'm moving along. I know it's taken a while. Hopefully we'll have less than 20 parts to this. That's my goal, is like less than 20. Under 20. And I'll try to do the next part as soon as possible. I'll get it up for you guys so you can hear the rest of the story. Because will Matt play bass? Will someone else play bass? Will no one play bass? Tune in next time.